Welcome to Life is an Engine. Ready to rev up those brain cells?
Always.
Good, because today we're going deep, like way back in time, deep into the mind of Aristotle.
Oh, I love Aristotle.
Yeah, and get this. This isn't just some dusty history lesson.
Right.
We're talking about ideas from over 2,000 years ago that still shape how we think, how we see the world, even today.
It's kind of wild to think that without labs or microscopes or, the internet,
Yeah.
this guy was figuring out stuff that still blows our minds today.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking foundations of logic, science, even how to live a good life.
All that stuff, yeah.
Okay, so full disclosure, back in college, philosophy wasn't exactly my thing.
Really?
No, give me like a physics problem any day.
Ah.
But something about Aristotle, maybe it's the sheer audacity of trying to figure out the entire universe with just your brain.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's compelling.
Right, and that's what's so interesting. He didn't just sit around theorizing. This guy was out there, hands dirty, observing the world. He practically invented the scientific method like centuries before it even had a name.
You mean just looking at stuff? Isn't that like the most basic thing ever?
Well, it seems obvious now, but back then it was a revolution. Imagine like a world where knowledge came from myths, stories passed down through generations, and then you have Aristotle. He's like, hold on, let's actually look at the world and see what's going on.
So instead of like a story about a chariot pulling the sun across the sky,
Yeah.
he's actually observing the movement of the sun,
Yeah.
the shadows, trying to figure it out.
Exactly.
Wow.
And get this, he dissected animals, like categorized them by their characteristics, basically a protozoologist. All this without the fancy tools we have today.
No kidding.
It puts things in perspective.
It makes you wonder, like, in 2,000 years, are people going to look back at our scientific facts and chuckle at how clueless we were?
Right.
It's a humbling thought, but also kind of exciting. Like there's always more to discover.
Always. Yeah.
But speaking of discovering, let's get to one of Aristotle's most famous ideas with the four causes.
Yes.
I remember this one seriously worked my brain in college.
For sure.
Oh yeah, the four causes. I remember trying to explain this to my roommate after philosophy lecture.
Yeah.
And I think I just ended up confusing both of us.
It happens.
So break it down for me. What's the big deal with these causes?
So imagine you're looking at a chair, right?
Okay.
Most people back then would focus on what it's made of, the materials. But Aristotle, he said, hold on, to really understand this chair, we need to go deeper.
Deeper meaning?
He identified 4 different types of causes, each one answering a different why question about the chair's existence. So first, you got the material cause, the wood, the metal, what it's made of.
Okay.
Then there's the formal cause. That's the design, the blueprint that makes it a chair and not, a table.
Right.
Then we got the efficient cause. That's the carpenter who built it, the force that brought it into being.
Okay, so far so good. So it's like breaking down all the different factors that went into creating this chair.
Exactly.
But there's a fourth one, right?
Yeah.
That's the one that always tripped me up.
Yes, there is. The final cause, and this one is, well, it's the most radical one. Aristotle said the final cause of the chair is its purpose, to be sat upon.
Oh, okay.
He believed everything, not just objects, has a purpose, a reason for being.
Whoa. So it's not just about what a thing is, but why it exists.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big shift in thinking.
Totally.
But what about things in nature? Like, does a rock have a purpose?
Yeah.
What about a mosquito? I mean, I can't imagine anything less purposeful than a mosquito buzzing around my head.
That's where it gets interesting. And we can unpack that in the next part of our deep dive. So before we went to whatever we went to, I don't know, a break or whatever,
Yeah.
we were talking about the 4 causes and how Aristotle thought everything has a purpose.
Right.
But, what about those things in nature that seem, well, kind of pointless?
Yeah, like mosquitoes.
Right.
Or poison ivy. What's their purpose? Just to make us miserable? I mean, it's not like somebody designed them to be annoying, right?
Right. That's where I think we have to shift our thinking a little.
Okay.
You see, Aristotle, he wasn't saying there's a conscious designer behind everything.
Okay.
He was more interested in understanding, the inherent potential in things, what they naturally strive to become.
So even a mosquito has a purpose.
Yeah.
Even if it's, being annoying.
Exactly. Its purpose, might be to reproduce or to be part of the food chain, to keep things balanced in the ecosystem.
Okay.
It's about seeing things as interconnected, like playing a role in a larger whole.
I see. So it's not just about objects or even living things.
Right.
It's about, like, understanding how everything's interconnected,
Yeah.
like a giant cosmic web.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And this whole purpose thing, it ties into another one of Aristotle's mind-blowing concepts, the unmoved mover.
Oh, yeah, the unmoved mover. We were
Yeah,
talking about that earlier.
we were.
This is where things get, like, really metaphysical, right?
Yeah.
We're talking, like, ultimate cause of everything, the first domino to fall.
Exactly. Aristotle is struggling with this question. What sets everything in motion?
Yeah.
If every action has a reaction, then what was that very first action?
Right.
What was the first cause?
Okay, my brain is already hurting.
Yeah.
It's like trying to imagine what came before the Big Bang.
I know, right?
But, okay, let's unpack this unmoved mover thing. What was Aristotle actually proposing?
He argued there has to be some ultimate source of motion and change. Something that sets everything else in motion, but it's itself unchanging, eternal.
Right.
It's not like God in the traditional sense, but like a principle, a pure act of being, the source of all potentiality.
So it's not like a dude with a beard sitting on a cloud, snapping his fingers and making the universe happen. It's more like an abstract force or
Yes,
principle.
Exactly. It's the ultimate cause, the source of all being and becoming.
That's a mind-bending concept.
Oh, it is, for sure.
I bet this idea had a big impact on how people thought about the universe, their place in it.
Huge impact, yeah. I mean, on both philosophy and theology for centuries.
Wow.
It raised all sorts of questions about, the nature of reality, a higher power, the meaning of life.
It's fascinating how these, like, ancient ideas, even the ones that seem kind of abstract, they can still spark such deep questions and discussions.
I know.
It's like they're tapping into something fundamental about what it means to be human.
Absolutely. And, what's really interesting is Aristotle didn't just stop at these big cosmic mysteries.
Yeah.
He was also super concerned with how we should live our lives here on Earth.
Ah, so now we're getting into ethics.
Yeah,
The good life, all that.
exactly. Aristotle, he had a lot to say about virtue, happiness, and the purpose of human society.
Interesting.
And his approach to ethics was just as groundbreaking as, all those other ideas.
All right, let's dive into that. I'm curious to hear what a philosopher from 2,000 years ago has to say about living a good life today. Is it all togas and sandals, or did he have some insights that still hold up in our crazy world?
Well, you might be surprised that some of his ideas about happiness, about fulfillment, they're actually incredibly relevant to our modern lives.
Welcome back to Life as an Engine. We're still rolling with Aristotle, exploring his mind-blowing ideas about purpose, the universe, and now how to live a good life.
It's amazing. Aristotle's approach to ethics, it wasn't about giving some set of strict rules.
Right.
He wasn't big on commandments or saying thou shalt not this or that.
Interesting.
He was more into exploring what it means to be a virtuous person.
Oh, okay.
To live a life of excellence, of fulfillment.
So it's less about following the rules and more about, like, building good character.
Yeah, exactly. Aristotle believed that virtue is something we develop through practice, through making choices that, align with what's good, what's noble. He talked about finding a golden mean between extremes.
Okay, the golden mean. Can you give me an example of that? My brain's still a little fuzzy from that whole unmoved mover conversation.
Sure. Think about courage, right? Too little courage, and you're paralyzed by fear, unable to act when you need to, but too much courage, and you become reckless, taking unnecessary risks.
Ah,
You
okay.
see? So it's about finding that sweet spot,
Right.
the right amount of courage for each situation.
So not too hot, not too cold, like Goldilocks.
Exactly. It's about developing good judgment,
Okay.
what Aristotle called phronesis.
Phronesis.
Yeah, basically practical wisdom, the ability to make the right call in different situations.
Oh, okay.
And that comes from experience, from, reflecting on our choices and learning from our mistakes.
So practice makes perfect. But in this case, it's not about being perfect. It's about, trying to be better, to make choices that, I guess, are in line with our values and make us better overall.
That's it. Aristotle believed that becoming virtuous, it's an ongoing thing,
Oh,
a
no.
journey of self-improvement.
Right.
And it's not a journey we take alone.
So it's not just about, like, personal growth. It's about our connections with others.
Exactly. Aristotle, he famously said that humans are political animals,
Okay.
meaning we're social creatures by nature. We thrive in communities, in relationships with others.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I get energy from being around people.
Yeah.
But how does this social aspect tie into, like Aristotle's ideas about ethics, about
Yeah.
living a good life.
Well, he thought that the polis, the city-state, it was essential for humans to truly thrive.
Okay.
You see, it's where we learn how to, interact with others, we develop our virtues, and we contribute to the common good.
It takes a village.
Exactly.
We need each other to learn and grow, to become the best we can be.
Yeah, and for Aristotle, the ultimate goal for both the individual and the community was eudaimonia,
Eudaimonia.
often translated as, happiness or flourishing.
So it's not just about feeling good right now.
No.
It's about living a life that's meaningful, with purpose, a life that contributes to something bigger than ourselves.
That's it. That's a great way to put it. And sure, Aristotle's ideas about politics and society, they might seem a little, outdated in our modern world, but his emphasis on virtue, on community, and a life with purpose, still so relevant.
It makes you think about how we can build societies that support those values,
Mhm.
that help people in their search for uh, eudaimonia, whatever that looks like for them.
Exactly. And that's one of the things Aristotle left us with, a framework for thinking about what it means to live a good life for ourselves and as part of a community.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it? How these ideas from over 2,000 years ago can still get us thinking about how we live and how we organize ourselves.
I know. It's like we're having a conversation across the centuries.
It's humbling, but also pretty inspiring.
Yeah.
We're all part of this ongoing conversation, this search for meaning.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe by talking about these ideas, by really thinking about our lives and our place in the world, maybe we'll come up with our own mind-blowing insights.
That's a great point. So to our listeners, as we wrap up our deep dive into the mind of Aristotle,
Yeah.
keep exploring, keep asking those big questions, and see what incredible insights you find along the way.
And don't forget, as Aristotle might say, the unexamined life is not worth living. So go out there, examine your life, your choices, your values, and see what amazing things you discover.
Thanks for joining us on this awesome journey. Until next time, keep those engines running.